October 17th, 2024, 8:47 p.m. A 7-year-old girl hides in a closet, holding an iPad with trembling hands. Through the crack in the door, she watches her father beating her pregnant mother. He's counting, out loud. 1, 2, 3. By the time he reaches 127, her mother will be dying on the kitchen floor. Her father will have confessed to 5 affairs, $800 million in stolen money, and a plan to make his wife disappear forever. But this little girl does something extraordinary, something that will bring down a billionaire and expose one of Silicon Valley's darkest secrets. She presses record. This is the true story of how one 12-minute video destroyed an empire built on lies, and how a woman who was told she was nothing became worth over $1 billion. But I need to warn you, this story gets dark before it gets light. Are you ready? Let's begin. October 17th, 2024. Security footage timestamp 8:47 p.m. What happened in the next 12 minutes would expose one of Silicon Valley's darkest secrets. Claire Sutton lay in a hospital bed at County General, her face swollen almost beyond recognition. At 32 years old and 6 months pregnant, she had 37 documented injuries. The attending physician, Dr. Emily Martinez, had been an emergency room doctor for 15 years. She had seen terrible things, but this made her hands shake with rage. Detective James Garrett stood at the foot of the bed, holding a child's pink iPad in an evidence bag. "Claire, can you hear me?" he asked gently. Claire nodded. Barely. Her jaw was fractured. Speaking hurt. "Your daughter Emma sent a video to your friend Jenna Brooks." Detective Garrett continued. "Jenna called 911 immediately. Mrs. Sutton, Emma recorded everything that happened tonight. The entire assault." Claire's eyes widened. "No," she tried to say, "not Emma. Please tell me Emma didn't see. She was hiding in the hallway closet." The detective said, "She recorded for 12 minutes. Then she emailed it to your friend and wrote 'Help Mommy' in the subject line." Tears ran down Claire's bruised face. "My baby girl," she whispered. "What have I done to my baby girl?" "You didn't do anything," Detective Garrett said firmly. "Your husband did this. And Mrs. Sutton, that video your daughter recorded is the clearest evidence of premeditated domestic violence I have seen in 20 years on the force." Claire closed her eyes. The room spun. How had her life come to this moment? How had she become this person, this victim, this cautionary tale? 12 hours earlier, everything had been normal. Or what passed for normal in the Whitmore household. Claire had been preparing dinner. Emma had been doing homework at the kitchen table. The house had been peaceful, quiet, safe. But safety, Claire had learned, was an illusion. She had been living in a prison for 8 years. The walls were just invisible. "Mrs. Sutton," Detective Garrett's voice pulled her back to the present. "We need your statement. But first, I need you to understand something. Your husband Nathan is going to claim you attacked him first. He's going to say the video is edited or taken out of context. His lawyers are already preparing their defense." Claire's throat tightened. Of course they were. Nathan was Nathan Whitmore, tech billionaire, magazine cover darling, the man with a $1.4 billion company. She was just Claire, the elementary school teacher who had given up everything for her husband's dream. "But you have something he doesn't," Detective Garrett continued. "You have the truth, and that video captures every second of it." A nurse entered the room. "Claire, your friend Jenna is here with your daughter Emma. Do you want to see them?" Claire's maternal instinct flared stronger than her pain. "Yes, please. I need to see Emma." Jenna Brooks appeared in the doorway moments later. 33 years old, an emergency room nurse. She had been Claire's best friend since college. Her eyes were red from crying. Behind her stood a small figure. Emma Whitmore was 7 years old. She had her mother's brown eyes and her father's dark hair. Right now, those eyes were terrified. "Mommy," she whispered. "Come here, baby," Claire managed to say. Her voice cracked. "Come here." Emma ran to the bed but stopped short, afraid of hurting her mother. "I'm sorry," she said, crying. "I'm sorry, I just recorded. I didn't help you." "Listen to me," Claire said, holding out her arms. Emma climbed carefully onto the bed. "You saved us. You were so brave. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You got help." Emma buried her face in her mother's shoulder. Is Daddy coming back? She asked. The question every abused child asks. The question that breaks hearts. No, baby, Claire said. She looked at Detective Garrett. He nodded confirmation. Daddy is never coming back. We're safe now. But even as Claire said the words, she wondered if they were true. Nathan Whitmore had money. He had power. He had lawyers. Could one video really bring down an empire built on lies? She was about to find out. 9 years earlier, Claire had met Nathan Whitmore at a charity fundraiser in San Francisco. She had been a 23-year-old elementary school teacher, fresh out of college and full of idealism. He had been a 26-year-old entrepreneur with big dreams and a smile that lit up the room. He had approached her at the silent auction. You're bidding on the teaching supplies package. He had observed. Most people here are fighting over the wine tasting trip. Claire had laughed. I'm a teacher. I can't afford wine tasting trips, but I can try to win supplies for my classroom. Nathan had been charmed. What do you teach? He had asked. Second in grade. They're at that perfect age where everything is still magic. You know, when you tell them about science or history, they look at you like you just revealed the secrets of the universe. That's beautiful, Nathan had said, and he had seemed genuine. Maybe he had been, back then. Or maybe Claire had just been too young to see the warning signs. They had dated for a year. Nathan had been attentive, romantic, perfect. He had talked about changing the world with technology, about making education accessible to everyone. Claire had believed every word. They had married in a small ceremony with family and close friends. Claire's best friend from college, Heather Banks, had been her maid of honor. Heather had been thrilled for her. You're so lucky. Claire, she had said, Nathan is amazing. If only Claire had known what those words would come to mean. The first 2 years of marriage had been happy. Nathan had been in business school at Stanford. Claire had worked 2 jobs, teaching during the day and tutoring at night, to pay their bills. She hadn't minded. They were building something together. She had thought, a future. Then Emma had been born. Claire had been overjoyed. Nathan had seemed excited too, at first, but something had shifted after Emma's birth. Nathan had become distant, critical. You've let yourself go, he had said one night, looking at her postpartum body with disgust. You need to do something about that. Claire had been hurt, but had tried to understand. New babies were stressful. She had just needed to work harder at being the wife he wanted. That was the first trap. The belief that if she just tried harder, things would get better. It was a lie she had told herself for 7 more years. Nathan's tech company, Whitmore Solutions, had launched when Emma was 2. It had been an instant success. The company had developed software for school districts, making Claire's original dream of accessible education come true, or so it had seemed, within 3 years. Whitmore Solutions had gone public. The initial public offering had valued the company at $1.4 billion. Nathan had become a celebrity in Silicon Valley, magazine covers, conference keynote speeches, television interviews, and Claire had faded into the background. The supportive wife, the stay-at-home mom, the woman who smiled for the cameras and never complained. People had envied her life. Look at Claire Whitmore. They had said, she has everything, a brilliant husband, a beautiful daughter, a mansion in the hills. What more could anyone want? What they hadn't seen were the bruises hidden under long sleeves, the flinch when Nathan raised his voice, the way Claire checked her phone obsessively, tracking his moods through text messages. The night she sat in her car in the driveway, building courage to go inside her own home, the first time Nathan had hit her. Emma had been 5 years old. They had been arguing about money. Claire had questioned an expensive purchase, a $20,000 watch. We can't afford this, she had said. We need to save for Emma's college fund. Nathan had pushed her against the wall, hard. Claire's shoulder had slammed into the doorframe. A bruise had bloomed purple and black. He had apologized immediately. Flowers, tears, promises. I'm so sorry. Claire, work stress. It'll never happen again. She had believed him. That was the second trap. The belief that the apology meant something, that the flowers erased the violence. It had happened again 3 months later. A slap during an argument about his mother, then pushing, then hitting, always where it wouldn't show, always with an excuse, always followed by apologies and promises. Claire had told herself she couldn't leave. Emma needed stability. Nathan provided for them. Maybe she was being dramatic. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but it was that bad. She just hadn't been ready to admit it yet. Now, lying in a hospital bed with 37 documented injuries and a daughter traumatized by what she had witnessed, Claire finally saw the truth clearly. Nathan Whitmore wasn't a brilliant entrepreneur who had made a few mistakes. He was a predator who had spent 9 years systematically destroying her. The question was, could she destroy him back? The day of the attack had started like any other day in the Whitmore household. Claire had woken up early, made breakfast for Emma, and gotten her daughter ready for school. Nathan had already left for the office by the time they came downstairs. He always left early. Claire had been grateful for it. After dropping Emma at school, Claire had returned home to an empty house. 6 months pregnant now. She had been tired constantly. The baby had been active, kicking and moving. Strong, Dr. Martinez had said at the last appointment. Healthy. Claire had spent the morning doing laundry and cleaning. Staying busy helped. If she stopped moving, she started thinking, and thinking led to dark places. Around noon, Jenna had called. Hey, I'm on lunch break. Want to grab coffee? Claire had hesitated. Nathan didn't like it when she went out without telling him. But he was at work. He wouldn't know. Sure, she had said, meet me at the usual place. They had met at a small cafe near the hospital where Jenna worked. Jenna had taken one look at Claire and frowned. You're wearing long sleeves again. It's 85 degrees outside. Claire had pulled the sleeves down further, covering the bruises on her wrists. I'm cold these days. Pregnancy thing. Jenna hadn't bought it. Claire, we've been friends for 10 years. I know what's happening. Please, let me help you. There's nothing to help with, Claire had said automatically, the script she had memorized. Nathan is just under a lot of pressure at work. Things will get better. Things don't get better with abusers, Jenna had said bluntly. They escalate. You're 6 months pregnant. Claire, well, what happens when he hits you and you lose the baby? What happens when Emma gets in the way? That had struck a nerve. Emma, her beautiful, innocent daughter. What was Claire teaching her by staying? That love meant pain. That women should accept violence. That it was okay to be afraid in your own home. I don't know how to leave, Claire had admitted, the first honest thing she had said in months. He controls everything. The money, the house. He's told me if I try to leave, he'll take Emma. He has lawyers. I have nothing. You have me. Jenna had said, you have people who will help. But Claire was, you have to want to leave. I can't force you. Claire had nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She had wanted to leave. God, she had wanted to leave so badly. But fear had held her hostage. They had parted ways with Jenna's words ringing in Claire's ears. When you're ready, call me. Day or night, I'll come get you. Claire had driven home, her mind spinning. Could she really leave? Where would she go? How would she support herself and Emma and a new baby? These were the questions that kept victims trapped. She would learn later. The practical concerns that seemed insurmountable. The abuser made sure of that. Made sure the victim felt helpless, powerless, stuck. That afternoon, Claire had picked up Emma from school. Her daughter had chattered about her day, about a painting she had made in art class, about her best friend Sophie. Can Sophie come over for a play date this weekend? Emma had asked. Claire had hesitated. Playdates meant other parents in the house. Nathan didn't like that. Too much chance someone would see something, notice something. We'll see, honey, Claire had said, the same non-answer she gave to everything these days. At home, Emma had done her homework while Claire prepared dinner. Chicken, roasted vegetables, Nathan's favorites. She had learned to anticipate his preferences, learned to have everything perfect, so maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't find a reason to be angry. Around 6 p.m., Claire had checked Nathan's location on her phone, an app he had insisted she install so he could always find her. She had used it to track him too. He had been still at the office. Good. That meant he'd be home late. That meant a few more hours of peace. But at 7:30, her phone had buzzed. Nathan's text had been brief. Coming home early. Have someone I want you to meet. Claire's stomach had dropped. Someone. Nathan never brought people home unless he was making a point. unless he wanted to demonstrate his power. She had texted back, "Who?" His response had made her blood run cold. "Victoria from work." And a few others. "Don't worry about dinner, we'll order in." Victoria Cole. Nathan's executive assistant, 28 years old, beautiful, efficient. Claire had met her at company events, had sensed something off about the way Victoria looked at Nathan, the way Nathan looked back. "Emma, go to your room and play for a bit." Claire had said, "Mommy needs to clean up the kitchen, but I wanted to show you my homework." Emma had protested. "Later, baby, please, just go upstairs for a little while." Emma had gone, confused by her mother's sudden tension. And that was when Claire had heard it, the sound of Nathan's car in the driveway, the door opening, voices, multiple voices. Claire had walked to the front hallway. Nathan had stood there with three women, Victoria Cole, Brooke Hayes, who looked familiar, and someone Claire didn't recognize. "Claire Diamond," Nathan had said. His smile had been cold. "We need to talk." Nathan walked into the living room like he owned it, which, legally, he did. Everything was in his name. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. Claire had nothing. "Sit down," he had said. Not a request, a command. Claire had sat. The three women had arranged themselves around the room. Victoria on the sofa, confident and smirking. Brooke standing near the window, looking uncomfortable. The third woman, blonde and young, fidgeting with her phone. "Nathan, what's going on?" Claire had asked. Her voice had been steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. "I've been thinking," Nathan had said, "and I've decided it's time we were honest with each other. No more lies. No more pretending." Claire's heart had pounded. Honest about what? "About this," Nathan had gestured to the women. "About the fact that I've been seeing Victoria for 2 years now." The words had landed like physical blows. 2 years. 2 years of lying, of coming home and kissing Claire goodnight after being with another woman. Victoria had smiled. "Sorry, Claire," she had said. "But Nathan and I have something real, something you two lost a long time ago." Claire had looked at Nathan, searching his face for any sign of remorse. There had been none, and that's not all. He had continued. "Brooke and I have been together for 18 months. Brooke, the babysitter, the young woman Claire had welcomed into her home, had trusted with her daughter. Claire had felt sick. "You let her watch Emma," Claire had whispered. "You let your mistress babysit our daughter. She's good with kids," Nathan had said with a shrug. "Better than you, actually. Emma likes her more." The cruelty had been calculated, designed to hurt, and it had worked. From upstairs, there had been a sound, a door closing softly. "Emma," Claire's heart had seized. "Emma, go to your room," she had called out. "Stay upstairs, baby." But Emma hadn't gone to her room. Later, Detective Garrett would find her hiding in the hallway closet, her iPad recording everything. "Why are you telling me this?" Claire had asked. "Why now?" "Because I'm done pretending," Nathan had said. "And because you need to understand how things are going to be. I'm filing for divorce." "You'll get nothing. I've made sure of it." Claire had stood up. "You can't do that. California is a community property state. Half of everything is mine." Nathan had laughed. "That's where you're wrong. See, I've been planning this for a while. Jennifer Walsh, a very talented divorce attorney, has been helping me move assets. Offshore accounts, shell companies. As far as the law is concerned, I'm worth about $50 million. The rest, well, it doesn't exist on paper. $800 million. Claire would later learn, $800 million hidden away, stolen from her, from the life she had helped build. But the night of the attack, Claire had only understood that she was trapped, that Nathan had been planning her destruction for months, maybe years. "You can't do this," she had said again, weakly now, desperately. "I already have," Nathan had replied. "And here's the best part. See, I've also been documenting your behavior, your instability. Dr. Raymond Cole, a psychiatrist I know, has been reviewing my notes. He's prepared to testify that you're unfit to have custody of Emma." That had broken something in Claire. Her daughter. He was going to take her daughter. "You monster," she had said. "You absolute monster." Nathan had moved fast. He had grabbed a wine bottle from the counter and thrown it. The bottle had shattered on the floor. Red wine spreading like blood. Glass everywhere. "Don't call me that," Nathan had said. His voice had been ice cold. "I gave you everything. A home, security, status. And you couldn't even be grateful. You couldn't even be a good wife. I worked 2 jobs to put you through business school." Claire had shouted. "I gave up my career for you, Tuss. I built your company with you. You were convenient," Nathan had said. "That's all. Convenient and boring and replaceable." Claire had tried to move toward the stairs, toward Emma. She had needed to get to her daughter, but Nathan had grabbed her by the hair. Pain had exploded across her scalp as he yanked her backward. She had fallen. 6 months pregnant, she had hit the floor hard. The baby had kicked frantically inside her, distressed. And that was when Nathan had started counting. 1, Nathan had said. He had hit Claire's shoulder, hard enough to bruise instantly. "One time you disappointed me. You let yourself go after Emma was born." Claire had tried to get up. Nathan had pushed her back down. 2, a blow to her ribs. "2 times you disappointed me. You questioned my spending in front of the board." "Stop," Claire had begged. "Please, Nathan." "The baby." 3, another hit. "3 times you disappointed me. You made me look bad at the charity gala." Victoria had been watching, taking photos on her phone. Claire had seen the flash through her tears. Documentary evidence, Victoria would later claim. Insurance against Claire's lies. Brooke had stood frozen near the window. Her face had been pale. She had looked like she wanted to run but couldn't move. Fear did that. Froze you in place even when you knew you should act. 4, 5, 6. Nathan had kept counting. Each number had been a reason. Each hit had been calculated to hurt but not kill. Not yet. By number 15, Claire had been coughing blood. By 30, she couldn't feel her left arm. By 50, the room had started to spin. 53, Nathan had said. 53 times you disappointed me. You got pregnant again when I told you not to. It takes 2 people to make a baby. Claire had tried to say, but her jaw had been damaged. The words came out slurred. Nathan had laughed. "You think I wanted this baby? Rachel's pregnant too. Due the same month as you. You know Rachel, our neighbor 3 houses down. The one who brought cookies when she moved in." The blonde woman had shifted uncomfortably. Rachel. That was her name. The third woman in the room, the pregnant with Nathan's baby. Claire's mind had fractured. Her neighbor. The woman she had chatted with over the fence. Who had played with Emma in the yard. Pregnant with her husband's baby. The counting had continued. 68, 72, 89. 89 times you disappointed me. Nathan had said, "You met with Jenna today. Without asking permission. You think I don't know everything you do. I track your phone. Claire, I know everywhere you go." Privacy had been an illusion too. At 100, Nathan had paused. He had been breathing hard, sweating. Claire had been barely conscious. The baby had still been moving though. Still fighting. Still alive. "You want to know the best one?" Nathan had said. He had crouched down, gotten close to her face. "Number 101. Your best friend Heather. We've been together for 3 years. 3 years. Claire, every girls' night you two had. Every time she came over for wine and advice about her relationships, she was sleeping with me. The betrayal had been worse than the physical pain. Heather, her maid of honor, Emma's godmother, the person Claire had trusted most in the world. She helped me plan this, actually." Nathan had continued. "Helped me document your crazy behavior. All those times you confided in her about feeling depressed or overwhelmed. We kept records. Dr. Cole is using her statements to prove you're unfit." Claire had closed her eyes, wishing for unconsciousness, wishing for death. But Nathan hadn't been done. He had kept counting. 110, 115, 120. The last 7 had been the worst, because Nathan had listed his plans as he hit 121. "Emma leaves with me next week. Cayman Islands. You'll never see her again." 122. "Dr. Cole has you scheduled for involuntary commitment. Psych ward. Indefinite stay." 123. "Heather will adopt Emma, raise her as her own." 124. "Victoria is moving into this house. She'll be Mrs. Whitmore. 125. All your friends think you're crazy. I've made sure of it. 126. You'll die alone in a hospital, medicated and forgotten. 127. You were never enough. Claire, you were just convenient. And then he had stopped. Claire had been lying in blood and wine and broken glass, barely breathing. The baby's movements had been weak now, fading. Victoria had looked at her watch. We should go, she had said, before the neighbors hear. Nathan had nodded. He had pulled out his phone, taken a photo of Claire on the floor. Then he had grabbed a bottle, smashed it near his own face, given himself a small cut on his cheek. Self-defense. He had said, if she claims I hit her, I have proof she attacked me first. They had left, just walked out, left Claire dying on her kitchen floor. But they had made one mistake, one critical, fatal mistake. They had forgotten about Emma. In the hallway closet, 7-year-old Emma Whitmore had been holding her iPad with shaking hands. The recording had been 12 minutes and 43 seconds long. It had captured everything, every word, every hit, every betrayal. And Emma had known exactly what to do. Her mother had taught her well. In case of emergency, email Aunt Jenna. So that's what Emma had done. Subject line, help mommy. The email had sent at 8:59 p.m. At 9:02 p.m., Jenna had called 911. At 9:08 p.m., police and paramedics had arrived. At 9:15 p.m., Detective James Garrett had watched the video for the first time. He had been a cop for 20 years. He had thought he'd seen everything, but this had made him physically ill. By 9:30 p.m., warrants had been issued for Nathan Whitmore, Victoria Cole, Brooke Hayes, and Rachel Dunn. By 10 p.m., an APB had gone out across 3 states, and by midnight, the video had been secured as evidence in what would become one of the most high-profile domestic violence cases in California history. Emma Whitmore, 7 years old, had saved her mother's life. Now the question was whether the justice system would give them the justice they deserved. 3 days after the attack, Claire had been discharged from the hospital. She hadn't gone home. Home was a crime scene now, yellow tape across the front door, blood evidence markers on the kitchen floor. Home was the place where she had almost died. Instead, she had gone to a women's shelter. The location was confidential, armed security, no visitors without prior approval. Emma had come with her, so had Claire's mother, Margaret Sutton, who had flown in from Oregon the moment she heard. Claire's mother had walked into the hospital room and burst into tears at the sight of her daughter. "What did he do to you?" she had whispered. "Oh, baby, what did he do to you?" Claire had been too tired to answer, too broken. She had just held her mother's hand and cried. Now, sitting in the small but clean room at the shelter, Claire had tried to process everything. Detective Garrett had visited that morning with updates. Nathan fled to Nevada, he had said. We found him at a hotel in Las Vegas, using a false name. He's been arrested. Bail hearing is tomorrow. Will he get bail? Claire had asked. The thought of Nathan free, walking the streets, had terrified her. His lawyers are good, Detective Garrett had admitted. They're going to argue he's not a flight risk, that he has ties to the community. But we have the video, and we have evidence he was planning to flee to the Cayman Islands with Emma. That should count for something. It should have, but rich men with good lawyers often got bail when they shouldn't. Claire had learned not to count on the system. Jenna had visited too, bringing clothes and toiletries. She had sat with Claire, held her hand, let her cry. This isn't your fault, Jenna had said. None of this is your fault. But Claire had felt like it was. All the years of staying, all the excuses she had made, all the times she could have left but didn't. How many of those 127 hits could have been prevented if she had been braver sooner? You're thinking you should have left earlier, Jenna had said, reading her mind. Don't. Leaving an abuser is the most dangerous time. Statistics show most domestic violence murders happen when the victim tries to leave. You stayed alive. Claire, you survived. That's what matters. Claire had wanted to believe her. The next day, Patricia Caldwell had arrived. Trish, as everyone called her, was 52 years old with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen everything. She was one of the best divorce attorneys in California. Sarah called me. Trish had said, I took your case pro bono. Nobody should have to pay to escape a monster. Claire had almost broken down again. Kindness, she had learned, could hurt as much as cruelty when you weren't used to it. Trish had been all business. Okay, here's where we stand. The video is solid evidence. Emma's testimony, if needed, will be powerful. The medical records document everything. We have a strong case. But, Claire had said, hearing the unspoken word, but Nathan has money. Trish had finished. A lot of money. And money buys very good lawyers. He's retained Gerald Price. Heard of him? Claire had shaken her head. Price is a shark. Trish had explained. He defends abusers, usually successfully. He's going to argue the video is inadmissible, that it was recorded without consent by a minor. He's going to claim you attacked Nathan first. He's going to drag your name through the mud. Can he win? Claire had asked. Her voice had been small. Scared. Not if I have anything to do with it, Trish had said fiercely. But Claire, you need to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. It had gotten ugly fast. Nathan's bail hearing had been the next day. The judge had set bail at $5 million. Claire had felt relief. $5 million was a lot, even for Nathan. He would stay in jail. But 3 hours later, the bail had been posted. A wire transfer from an offshore account. Nathan had walked out of jail wearing an ankle monitor and a smug expression. That same day, Nathan's PR team had launched their counterattack. A press conference. Nathan standing behind a podium, looking haggard and sympathetic, a small makeup bruise on his cheek, and behind him, all 5 mistresses, standing in solidarity. I'm here today to address false accusations made against me. Nathan had said, his voice had been calm, reasonable. My wife Claire has been struggling with mental health issues for years. I've tried to help her. I've supported her through multiple depressive episodes. But 3 nights ago, she attacked me. Lies. All lies. But delivered so smoothly, so convincingly. Victoria had stepped forward. I was there. She had said, I witnessed Claire attack Nathan first. She threw a wine bottle at him. He was defending himself when she fell and injured herself. Brooke had been next. I've known Claire for years as Emma's babysitter. I've seen her instability firsthand. She's paranoid, jealous, violent. Nathan is the victim here. Even Rachel, the pregnant neighbor, had spoken. Claire has accused me of having an affair with her husband. That's completely false. I'm happily married. This is slander. And then Heather had spoken. Heather Banks, Claire's best friend of 15 years. I've known Claire since college. Heather had said, she's always been dramatic, attention-seeking. This video is carefully edited to make Nathan look bad. The truth is, Claire has anger issues. She's been physically aggressive before. I've seen it. The betrayal had cut deeper than any of Nathan's blows. Within hours, the press conference had gone viral. Social media had exploded. Hashtag Nathan is the victim had started trending. News outlets had run with the story. Tech CEO accused of abuse by unstable wife. Public opinion had shifted overnight. Nathan Whitmore, the handsome billionaire, the job creator, the philanthropist, versus Claire Sutton, the nobody, the accuser, the woman who probably just wanted his money. At the shelter, Claire had watched the news coverage with growing horror. This can't be happening, she had said. There's a video. How can they not believe the video? Because people want to believe him, Trish had said grimly. Because it's easier to blame the woman? Because Nathan has resources to control the narrative. Can we release the video? Claire had asked. Let people see the truth. Not yet, Trish had said. It's evidence. We can't compromise the criminal case. But Claire, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get worse before it gets better. She had been right. 2 days after Nathan's press conference, Claire's phone had rung at 2 in the morning. An unknown number. She almost hadn't answered, but something had made her pick up. Claire, a woman's voice had whispered. It's Brooke. Brooke Hayes, the babysitter, one of Nathan's mistresses, one of the women who had watched him beat Claire and done nothing. What do you want? Claire had asked coldly. I need to talk to you. In person. It's important. Claire had wanted to hang up, but curiosity and desperation had won out. She had agreed to meet at a 24-hour diner, with Detective Garrett present for safety. Brooke had shown up looking terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed. She had been shaking. I lied at the press conference. She had blurted out as soon as she sat down. Nathan made me. He threatened to ruin my life if I didn't back up his story. Claire had just stared at her. I'm so sorry. Brooke had continued, crying now. I know sorry isn't enough, but you have to understand, Nathan is terrifying. When he wants something, he gets it. He told me if I didn't cooperate, he'd post private photos of me online. He'd tell my family I seduced him. He'd make sure I could never work with children again. So you let him beat a pregnant woman, Claire had said. Her voice had been ice. I know. Brooke had sobbed. I know. I'll never forgive myself. But I'm here now. I have evidence. Text messages from Nathan, coaching me on what to say. Audio recordings of him threatening me. I want to help. Detective Garrett had leaned forward. Are you willing to testify truthfully about what happened that night? Brooke had nodded. Yes. All of it. How Nathan planned the whole thing, how he wanted witnesses who would claim Claire attacked first, how Victoria was in on it from the beginning. She had pulled out her phone, showed them the messages. Nathan's instructions had been detailed, precise, premeditated. This changes everything, Martin, Detective Garrett had said. This proves it wasn't self-defense. It was planned assault. Over the next week, 2 more of Nathan's mistresses had come forward. Amber Peterson, the young intern, had contacted Trish's office. I was 17 when Nathan started pursuing me. She had said, not 18 like he told everyone. 17, still in high school. That revelation had added statutory rape to Nathan's growing list of charges. Rachel Dunn, the pregnant neighbor, had also broken. He told me they were separated. She had admitted to Detective Garrett that the divorce was already filed. I had no idea Claire didn't know about me. When I saw that press conference, saw him lie so easily, I realized he'd lied to me too, about everything. Only Victoria Cole and Heather Banks had remained loyal to Nathan. Victoria because she had been complicit from the start. Heather because, as Trish put it, she's as much of a sociopath as he is. But 3 mistresses cooperating out of 5 had been enough. Combined with Emma's video and the medical evidence, the case against Nathan had become overwhelming. Still, Claire had felt like she was waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Nathan to pull some trick she hadn't anticipated. He always had a backup plan. Always. She had been right to worry. 10 days after the attack, Detective Garrett had called Ed with bad news. Nathan's lawyers filed a motion to suppress the video. They're arguing it was recorded without consent by a minor, which makes it inadmissible under California's 2-party consent law. Can they do that? Claire had asked. Her heart had sunk. They can try, Detective Garrett had said. There's legal precedent that recordings made by children documenting felonies in progress are admissible. But Price is good. He'll argue Emma didn't understand what she was recording, that she was coached. The judge could go either way. If that video gets thrown out, Claire had said slowly, I lose everything. Not everything. Detective Garrett had corrected. We still have your testimony, the medical evidence, Brooke and the others. But yes, the video is our strongest piece of evidence. The hearing on the motion had been scheduled for 3 days later. Claire hadn't slept for any of those 3 days. At the hearing, Price had been eloquent. Your Honor, he had argued, this video was recorded by a 7-year-old child without the knowledge or consent of any adult present. California law clearly states that all parties must consent to being recorded. This video violates that law. Trish had countered. Your Honor, the law also recognizes an exception when a crime is being committed. Emma Whitmore was documenting a felony assault in progress. She did so to save her mother's life. The video is not only admissible, it's heroic. Judge Margaret Walsh had reviewed the arguments, reviewed the video, reviewed the case law. The courtroom had been silent, waiting. Finally, fine, Judge Walsh had spoken. I've reviewed the precedents in detail. While California is indeed a 2-party consent state, there is a clear exception when the recording documents a crime in progress. Furthermore, this court recognizes that Emma Whitmore was acting in defense of her mother. The video will be admitted as evidence. Claire had nearly collapsed with relief, but Price hadn't been done. He had one more card to play. Your Honor, my client is prepared to offer a settlement. Full custody to Mrs. Whitmore, $100 million. All we ask is that the criminal charges be dropped and the video remain sealed. $100 million. More money than Claire had ever imagined. Financial security for Emma and the baby forever. No trial, no more publicity, no more dragging her trauma through the courts. It had been tempting, so tempting. But Trish had looked at her. Your choice. Claire, no judgment either way. Claire had thought about it, thought about taking the money and running, about protecting Emma from more trauma, about the easy way out. Then she had thought about the woman at the diner who had thanked her, about all the other women trapped by men like Nathan, about the message it would send if Nathan could literally buy his way out of justice. No, Claire had said, no settlement, and I want him to face trial. Both trials, divorce and criminal. I want the world to know exactly what Nathan Whitmore is. Judge Walsh had nodded with what looked like approval. Very well. We proceed to trial. Nathan's mask had slipped for just a moment. Claire had seen the rage flash across his face, the realization that she wasn't going to break, wasn't going to fold. She had been his victim for 8 years, but she wasn't his victim anymore. Now she was his opponent, and she was going to win. The divorce trial had begun 6 weeks after the attack. Claire had been 8 months pregnant by then, moving slowly but determined. The courthouse had been packed, media everywhere, cameras, reporters shouting questions. Claire had walked past them all with her head high, one hand on her swollen belly, the other holding Emma's hand. Emma had been allowed to attend for the opening statements only. After that, she would stay with Claire's mother. The courtroom had been wood-paneled and solemn, Judge Walsh presiding, Trish at one table with Claire, Price at the other table with Nathan. Nathan had worn an expensive suit. He had looked every inch the successful businessman. Innocent, wronged. He had even smiled at the jury. Claire had felt sick looking at him. Judge Walsh had called the court to order. This is the divorce case of Whitmore versus Whitmore. Opening statements, please. Trish had stood. She had walked to the jury box, made eye contact with each juror. Ladies and gentlemen, she had begun. This is not a simple divorce. This is a case about systematic abuse, about deception, about a man who spent 9 years destroying his wife while hiding $800 million. She had paused. Let that sink in. Claire Sutton worked 2 jobs to put Nathan Whitmore through business school. She gave up her own master's degree to support his startup. She made the connections that led to his first major contract. She built his success. Trish had gestured to Claire. 8 months pregnant, brave. And how did Nathan Whitmore repay her? He had 5 affairs. He stole $800 million. He beat her while she was pregnant, counting to 127 while he did it. He planned to institutionalize her and kidnap their daughter. Gasps from the gallery. The jury had looked shocked. We will present evidence, Trish had continued. Video evidence, medical records, testimony from multiple witnesses, and we will prove that Nathan Whitmore deserves to lose everything he tried to steal. She had sat down, strong opening, clear, compelling. Price had stood next, slick, confident. Ladies and gentlemen, he had said, my client is a successful businessman. He built $1 billion company. He provided for his family. Yes, he made mistakes. He had affairs. He admits that. But his wife knew. She allowed it in exchange for financial security. Lies. Claire's hands had clenched. The alleged assault, Price had continued, was self-defense. Mrs. Whitmore attacked my client first. He defended himself. Unfortunately, she fell and was injured. But my client is not the abuser here. More lies. But delivered smoothly. We will show that Claire Sutton is manipulative and vindictive. She's using false allegations to steal my client's fortune, to destroy his reputation, to keep his children from him. Price had sat down, confident and smug. Then the witnesses had begun. Dr. Emily Martinez had testified first. The patient presented with 37 injuries. She had said, bruising in various stages of healing, indicating repeated trauma over time, fractured ribs, concussion, placental abruption. These injuries were consistent with a sustained physical assault. On cross-examination, Price had tried to suggest Claire's injuries could have been self-inflicted or from a fall. Dr. Martinez had shut that down immediately. Impossible, she had said. The injury pattern clearly shows blows from another person. Multiple blows over an extended period. Detective Garrett had testified about the investigation. The video evidence is clear. He had said, Nathan Whitmore beat his pregnant wife while counting aloud. He listed his affairs. He outlined his plan to steal her assets and her daughter. This was premeditated. Systematic abuse. Price had challenged the video's admissibility again. Judge Walsh had overruled him. The video stands. Then the mistresses had testified. Brooke had been first, crying, remorseful. He threatened me into lying, she had said. I was there, like you. I watched him beat Claire. It was horrible. I'll never forgive myself for not stopping it. Amber had testified about the grooming. I was 17, still in high school. He pursued me, manipulated me, used me. I thought he loved me, but he just wanted control. Rachel had testified about the lies Nathan told her. He said they were divorced, that Claire knew. Everything was a lie. Each testimony had built the case. Each witness had added another nail to Nathan's coffin. But the most powerful testimony had come from Claire herself. Trish had called her to the stand on day 3. Claire had walked slowly, 8 months pregnant, every eye on her. Mrs. Whitmore. Trish had begun gently. Tell us about your marriage. Claire had taken a breath. This was it. Time to tell her truth. I met Nathan 9 years ago. She had said. Her voice had been steady, clear. I was a teacher. He was charming, ambitious. I believed in him, so I worked 2 jobs while he went to business school. I gave up my master's program. I made sacrifices because I thought we were building something together. When did things change? Trish had prompted. After Emma was born, Claire had said, Nathan became critical, distant, then violent. It started with pushing, then slapping, then worse. He always apologized, always promised to change. I believed him because I loved him, because I thought marriage meant working through hard times. Why didn't you leave? Trish had asked. The question everyone asked. Claire had looked at the jury. Because I had a child? Because Nathan controlled the money? Because he threatened to take Emma from me? Because leaving an abuser is the most dangerous time? Because by the time I realized how bad it was, I felt trapped. Tell us about the night of October 17th. Claire had closed her eyes briefly, remembered. Then she had told them everything. The wine bottle, the counting, the affairs revealed, Nathan's plans, all of it. When she had finished, there had been silence in the courtroom. Several jurors had been crying. Price's cross-examination had been brutal, but Claire had been prepared. Mrs. Whitmore, isn't it true you wanted your husband's money? He had asked. I wanted safety. Claire had replied, I wanted my daughter safe. The money is just a tool to ensure we never have to depend on an abuser again. Isn't it true you attacked your husband first? No. The video shows otherwise. Price had tried several more attacks. Claire had deflected each one. Calm, prepared, strong. Finally, Nathan had taken the stand, required to testify in his own divorce case, and he had made the fatal mistake of losing control. Nathan's testimony had started well enough. He had been composed, sympathetic, a man wronged by a vindictive wife, Mr. Whitmore. His lawyer Price had asked, Did you abuse your wife? No. Nathan had said, I defended myself when she attacked me. The affairs were consensual. She knew about them. Lies, but delivered calmly. Then Trish had stood for cross-examination. She had smiled, sharp, dangerous. Mr. Whitmore, she had said, how many affairs did you have? That's personal, Nathan had replied. Answer the question. Judge Walsh had ordered. 5, Nathan had admitted. And did your wife know about all 5? Yes. Trish had walked to the evidence table. Interesting, because we have emails from you to Victoria Cole. Quote, Claire has no idea about us. Keep it that way. End quote. Nathan's face had gone blank. Caught in a lie. Trish had continued. We have text to Rachel Dunn. Quote, when I divorce Claire, we'll be together. Just keep our affair secret. End quote. More lies exposed. We have financial records showing you hid $800 million. Why would you hide money if Claire knew about the affairs and was fine with them? Nathan had stammered. I, she might have changed her mind. Or you were planning to steal everything, Trish had suggested. Planning to leave her penniless. Planning to institutionalize her. Planning to kidnap your daughter. That's not true, Nathan had protested. Trish had shown more evidence. Emails to Dr. Cole about forcing Claire into psychiatric care. Flight records for one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands. For Nathan and Emma. Not Claire. You weren't planning a divorce, Trish had said. You were planning Claire's destruction. Nathan had tried to maintain composure, but Trish had kept pressing, kept showing evidence, kept exposing lies. Finally, one day, she had asked the question, Mr. Whitmore, why did you count while you beat your wife? Why 127 times specifically? And Nathan had broken. The mask had slipped completely. She deserved it. He had shouted. All of it. Every hit. She was nothing. She is nothing. Boring and stupid and ungrateful. The courtroom had gone silent. The real Nathan Whitmore had shown himself. The rage, the contempt, the cruelty. She ruined my life. Nathan had continued, spiraling. I gave her everything and she couldn't even be a decent wife. She's trying to steal my money, my company, my daughter. She deserves to suffer. Mr. Whitmore, Judge Walsh had said sharply, control yourself. But the damage had been done. The jury had seen, the gallery had seen, everyone had seen the real Nathan Whitmore. Trish had sat down, satisfied. No further questions. Closing arguments had come next. Trish had been powerful. Claire Sutton deserves justice. She deserves safety. She deserves every penny Nathan Whitmore tried to steal. Full custody, $800 million in assets, $350 million in punitive damages. Price's closing had been weak. His client had destroyed himself on the stand. The jury had deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, Claire's heart had pounded so hard she thought she might pass out. Have you reached a verdict? Judge Walsh had asked. We have, Your Honor. The foreman had stood. In the matter of Whitmore versus Whitmore, we find in favor of the plaintiff, Claire Sutton. Yes, thank God. Custody of Emma Whitmore and baby Whitmore, when born, is granted solely to Claire Sutton. Nathan Whitmore is granted no visitation rights. Full custody. Both children safe. Regarding the financial settlement, we award Claire Sutton $800 million in marital assets and $350 million in punitive damages. Total award, $1.15 billion. Claire had started crying. $1.15 billion. Everything. She had gotten everything. The courtroom had erupted. Nathan had stood, enraged. This is a travesty, he had shouted. She's a liar. She's stealing my life. Bailiff, Judge Walsh had said coldly, remove Mr. Whitmore from my courtroom. And Mr. Whitmore, you're facing criminal trial next month. I suggest you learn to control yourself before then. Nathan had been dragged out, screaming, showing everyone exactly who he was. The criminal trial 3 weeks later had been almost anti-parallel. The evidence had been overwhelming. Assault and battery, conspiracy, fraud, attempted kidnapping. The jury had found him guilty on all counts. 15 years. No parole eligibility. Victoria Cole had gotten 5 years for conspiracy. Heather Banks had gotten 3 for perjury. It was over. Finally, truly over. Claire had won. 1 year after the attack. Claire stood in the kitchen of her new home. Not a mansion, just a comfortable house in a quiet neighborhood. Sunlight streamed through windows. Clean, bright, safe. Mommy, Emma called from the living room. Jackson spit up on me. Claire smiled. She walked in. Emma, now 8 years old, sat on the couch holding her 6-month-old baby brother. Spit up on her shirt. That's what babies do. Sweetie, Claire said. She took Jackson, wiped his mouth. You used to do the same thing. Gross, Emma said. But she was laughing. Real laughs now. The nightmares had decreased. Therapy was working. The doorbell rang. Jenna and Claire's mother, arriving for their weekly lunch. A tradition now. They ate on the back patio. The garden was blooming. Emma played. Jackson napped. Perfect. Ordinary life. How's school? Jenna asked Emma. Good, Emma said brightly. I'm in 3rd grade now, And I made the soccer team. That's wonderful, Jenna said. Claire watched her daughter, so different from a year ago, still healing, still going to therapy, but thriving. How are you? Claire's mother asked quietly. Better, Claire answered honestly. Some days are still hard. Some days I look over my shoulder. But most days, I'm okay. That's progress, her mother said. Claire had been in therapy too, 3 times a week initially, twice a week now. PTSD treatment, learning to live again. The money had helped. 1.15 billion, an incomprehensible amount. Claire had used it wisely. Therapy for her and Emma, this comfortable home, college funds, security, and donations. Lots of donations. I have news. Claire said, I got my acceptance letter. Graduate school, master's in education. I start in the fall. Her mother had started crying. Happy tears. Baby, I'm so proud of you. I'm finishing what I started. Claire explained. 8 years ago, I gave up my education for Nathan. Now I'm taking it back. That's amazing, Jenna said. Claire had also started the foundation, the Lily Whitmore Foundation, named after Emma's middle name. It helped domestic violence survivors, legal aid, therapy, safe housing, resources. In 1 year, they had helped 950 women who now had a chance, like Claire had been given a chance. Nathan was in prison, 15 years. He would serve every day. Claire felt nothing about that. No satisfaction, no anger, just nothing. Nathan was part of the past, forgotten. Sometimes people recognize Claire. At the grocery store, at the park. Women would approach her. Thank you, they would say. Your story gave me courage to leave. That made it worth it. All the pain, all the publicity. If her trauma helped others, it meant something. Mommy, can we go to the park? Emma asked. Sure, baby. Let me get Jackson's stroller. They walked to the neighborhood park. Safe, sunny, normal. Emma ran to the swings, other children playing, other mothers watching. Claire sat on a bench, rocking Jackson's stroller. She looked around. This was her life now. Parks, playdates, homework. Ordinary, beautiful. A woman sat beside her, mid-30s, nervous. Excuse me, are you Claire Sutton? Claire tensed. PTSD still present. Yes. I wanted to thank you, the woman said, her eyes filled with tears. I saw your story. It gave me courage. I left my husband, took my kids. We're safe now. Claire's throat tightened. I'm glad you're safe. You saved my life, the woman said. Thank you. She walked away. Claire sat stunned. This happens sometimes. Women recognizing her, sharing their stories. Her trauma becoming catalyst. Mommy, look, Emma called. I'm pumping my legs. I'm swinging high. Claire watched her daughter, flying, free, brave. She thought about something her therapist had said. You didn't survive because you were strong. You survived because staying would have killed you. Strength came later. It was true. Claire hadn't left because she was brave. She had left because she had no choice. The strength had come after. In therapy, in rebuilding, in choosing herself daily. Jenna joined her on the bench. Penny, for your thoughts. I was thinking about the day it happened. Claire said, the day Nathan beat me, the worst day of my life, and also the day that saved my life, because that video exposed the truth, got us out, set us free. The worst day led to the best decision. Jenna said, surviving. Claire corrected. I didn't decide to leave. I survived. The decision to actually leave, to rebuild, to heal came later. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Emma play, watching Jackson sleep, watching life unfold. Do you ever regret it? Jenna asked. Marrying him, having Emma and Jackson with him? No. Claire answered immediately. Because they exist. Emma and Jackson are the best parts of me. They're worth every scar, even the trauma, even the trauma. Claire agreed. Because surviving made me who I am, and I like who I'm becoming. Who are you becoming? Someone who chooses herself, Claire said. Someone who puts her children first. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who doesn't apologize for existing. I like her. Jenna said, Me too. Claire smiled. They stayed at the park until sunset, golden light painting everything warm. Emma tired from playing, Jackson awake and babbling. Walking home, Emma took Claire's hand. Mommy, I'm glad Daddy isn't here. Claire stopped, looked at her daughter. Me too. Baby, is that bad to be glad? No. Claire said, it's honest. Daddy hurt us. It's okay to be glad he's gone. It's okay to feel safe now. I do feel safe, Emma said, with you and Jackson and Aunt Jenna and Grandma. We're a family. There's a good family, the best family, Claire agreed. At home, Claire made dinner, simple, normal. She caught her reflection in the kitchen window, evening light softer. She recognized herself again. Not the girl who had married Nathan, not the woman who had been beaten. Someone new, someone forged in fire, someone stronger. After dinner, bath time for Jackson, bedtime for Emma, Harry Potter, their current favorite. Good night, baby girl, Claire said, kissing Emma's forehead. Good night, Mommy. I love you to the moon and back. I love you to the moon and back and around the stars. Claire replied, their ritual, safe, predictable, theirs. Claire checked the locks. Security system armed. They were safe. Her phone buzzed. Text from Trish. The appeals were denied. Nathan's sentence is final. 15 years. No parole. Claire read it twice. It was truly over. She sat on the couch. Jackson asleep. House quiet, peaceful. Tomorrow she would wake up, make breakfast, take Emma to school, play with Jackson, go to therapy, run errands, start graduate school applications. Ordinary tasks, extraordinary freedom. Some days were hard. Some days she still looked over her shoulder. But every day she was free. And freedom wasn't the absence of pain. It was the presence of choice. Claire chose herself. Finally, completely. She chose her children, chose healing, chose life. And every single day, she would choose it again. Claire turned off the lights, checked on Jackson one more time, sleeping peacefully, safe, loved. She climbed into her own bed, her own room, her own space. No one to fear, no one to please, just her. For the first time in 9 years, Claire fell asleep without fear, safe, free, home. Rebecca's story doesn't end here. It's just beginning. If this story moved you, if you've ever felt trapped, if you know someone who needs to hear that escape is possible, please share this message. Remember Claire's words. I didn't leave because I was strong. I left because staying would have killed me. Strength came later. You're stronger than you know. If Claire's story moved you, show it. Hit like so someone else who needs this finds it. Drop a comment with the moment that hit hardest. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. And subscribe, because every story we tell might save a life. The National Domestic Violence Hotline 1-800-799-7233. You're stronger than you know. See you next time.